Hi everyone, it's Tatyana from Tatyana's Everyday Food and welcome back to my kitchen. So lately I've been on this little trend of deconstructing desserts and placing them into single-size cups, and today I wanted to deconstruct everybody's favorite classic apple pie. So today we're going to cook the apples in a caramel and cinnamon sauce and then top them off with crushed buttery pie crust and finish everything off with the vanilla whipped cream. I love that you get all the flavors of the classic apple pie but this beautiful and elegant presentation. And these are so easy to make. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make these little treats. Let's talk about our main ingredient today. So in a large bowl here, I've chopped up 4 Granny Smith apples and I just chunked them into little small bite-sized pieces and I left the peel on. Now you can really use any type of apple you'd like and you can leave the peel on or off. To my apples, I'm going to be adding 2 tablespoons of flour, and this is just going to help keep all those juices together once the apples start cooking. We're going to be using a half a cup of packed brown sugar. And then for our spices, I have 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I'm going to add my 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to take a spatula and toss the apples together just to coat them in the sugar and flour mixture. And now it's time to cook our apples. So I'm heating a large pan over medium heat. I'm going to add in a tablespoon of butter and just let that melt. Now I'm going to add in my apples. I'm going to cook my apples over medium-low heat until they're really soft and tender and just give them a stir every once in a while. I'm going to add in half a cup of water. And this will just help steam the apples and cook them until they're tender. Just toss all that together. I just took my apples off the stovetop, so these can take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, just depending on what kind of pan you're using. And look at all that caramel sauce. They're just coated in this thick syrup. And I'm just gonna let these apples stand until they're cooled completely, and then we'll be able to use them in our dessert. So today I'm using a pre-made store-bought pie crust, and this just makes this recipe super easy. But if you want to make your own, I'll include a link to one of my other videos so you can make your own pie crust at home if you wish to do so. So I'm just going to roll this out, and I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just going to spread this out onto a baking sheet and take a fork and pierce it all over so it cooks nicely and evenly. I'm going to pop this into my preheated oven and just bake it until all the edges turn a nice golden brown color. I took out my pie crust and I let it cool off completely so it's easy to handle, and I'm just going to break it off into little pieces into my small bowl here. So you want to just crush it. Now you don't want it to be too small, just crush it enough to where it's a nice bite-sized piece. And now for our final layer, our whipped cream. So into a mixer bowl, I'm going to add in 1 cup of heavy cream. And you want to make the whipped cream right before serving. And to that, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. And I'm going to flavor that with half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to give this all a good whisk until I have a really light and fluffy whipped cream. Once your apples have cooled completely, it's time to assemble the dessert. So I have some little glass cups, and you can use glass or plastic ones, whichever you prefer. Just go ahead and scoop the apples and caramel sauce right into your dessert cup. And now I'm going to sprinkle the prepared crust over the top. Now you can assemble this in a couple different ways. If you know you're going to be serving it right away, it's okay to layer the crust on the bottom and maybe even make a few layers in between. But if you're going to keep this stored in the refrigerator, I recommend adding the crust on the top. That way it doesn't get soggy while it's standing and waiting to be eaten. And when you're ready to serve your dessert cups, you can place your whipped cream right on top. So I've transferred mine into a pastry bag. You can also just place a large spoon dollop on top. And if you want to add some extra garnish on top, you can add maybe a little bit of ground cinnamon over the top. Look at that, it looks so pretty. Or maybe even some toffee bits, a little bit of caramel sauce. Just sprinkle that over the top. And that's it for our deconstructed apple pie. So I recommend placing the whipped cream on top right before serving so that pie crust stays nice and crispy, just the way we need it to be. So to eat this, I'm gonna take a spoon and scoop it down to the bottom so I get some of those caramel apples, the pie crust, some whipped cream off the top. You guys are gonna love all the flavors in this deconstructed apple pie. You get all those flavors, that ooey caramel sauce flavor with the cinnamon and nutmeg, and those apples are just cooked to perfection. And that pie crust on top is just so good. It's crunchy, buttery, flaky, just the way you like it. And that whipped cream on top really finishes everything off. It's just creamy, adds just the right amount of sweetness. Now, if you don't want the whipped cream, maybe add a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top. That'd also be a really great idea. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video recipe. And once you get your apples either from the grocery store or the orchards, give this recipe a try. I guarantee you, you are gonna love it.